Okay, that concludes announcements. We're going to move on to presentations, and we have two gentlemen here from Team Rubicon. Please.
Good evening. I'm Mark Melissus. I am a volunteer with Team Rubicon. Been with Team Rubicon for about 4.5 years. I was a former volunteer leader, and I'm joined by Colin.
My name is Colin Ziegler. I'm the Central LA District Coordinator for Team Rubicon. Don't let our job titles fool you. This man has a wealth of experience with the organization, and I came on in September. But I think between us, there's some exciting information about the wonderful work that we do for the community and for veterans. Excellent. And I'm a active duty civilian.
I think we're going to start with our presentation. The slideshow is just basically a few slides to drive the conversation, and we have a couple of videos and them available for your questions. Overview was just start with the history of Team Rubicon. Okay. While he's going through it, is started in January 2010. Jake Wood, who is the co-founder and CEO of Team Rubicon, was watching the earthquake results on CNN and said, I got to do something. And he got on Facebook, generated some interest from a few people that had served with him before, and they got some funding together, and basically they started getting on airplanes from across the country and going to the Dominican Republic. Along the way, they picked up a ER doctor who was basically, hey, you guys going to Haiti? Red Cross won't talk to me, I want to go. Tag along. 2 firemen and paramedics also from other airports joined the crew. So they ended up with 4 former Marines that served together, a former Army Special Forces medic, and the ER doc and 2 firemen, and they went into Haiti, or they went into the Dominican Republic. Across the border, the Dominican government says, you can cross here, but you can't come back this way. And that went on to help Jake figure out the name of the organization, Team Rubicon, after Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon River, going back into Rome. And they burned the boats, they're committed, they're not going back. So they went in, they helped a couple thousand people over a several week period, and they went out, and then Jake started doing some brainstorming and created Team Rubicon. So there's a lot of veterans out there like me, we have some capabilities, we want to help, and how do we do that? Yeah. Well, we can do it by bringing the skills of started with veterans. We're used to operating in austere environments. You know, a disaster in Haiti is like, hey, there's a road here. You know, we're not in the hillside. There is more structure. Then we started bringing in first responders with their unique skills, particularly medical and rescue skills. And now we just have a lot of what we call kick-ass civilians that just want to join and do something different. You know, they don't want to join the Red Cross or the Salvation Army, one of those unique organizations, but they do want to get out there and help people. That's where Team Rubicon started. As we are right now, Team Rubicon has about 60 full-time people as employees here in Los Angeles, right at the Circle turnstile at the LA airport. If you drive through there, you'll see it off to your right. And they also have a few of those employees are also in Dallas, Texas. We have a National Operations Center there. We also have about 12 full-time employees spread throughout the country, and they mostly work from their homes. They work at the regional response. We have about 650, 700 volunteer leaders like Colin here, and about 75,000 members. The engagement of those members are varied, from some people who are doing something once a month all the time to some volunteers who they signed up but they've never done anything. And it says there, Team Rubicon, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and that's how we operate. Quick history lesson, we talked about our inception in 2010 with the Haiti earthquake. In 2011, we did our first domestic response in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to a F5 tornado. I remember watching it live on CNN as it just tore through the south of that town. And as Officer Polstra said, it's the number one thing Team Rubicon does, particularly domestically, is we go into communities in the Midwest and South after tornadoes. We break out our chainsaws, we cut down trees, we clean up debris. 2012 gained national relevance with our response to Operation in New Jersey and New York after Hurricane Sandy. In fact, it was that Michelle Obama had known about Team Rubicon before the event, that President Obama helped open a door with New York's emergency management on Long Island, because they had just pushed Team Rubicon to the side, said, who are you people, we don't, just get out of our way. And then apparently somebody got it on videotape. President Obama was talking to the emergency manager and said, hey, those guys over there, they're all veterans, they'll help you out, they're good guys. And it got us in there and it helped become national effort. People started doing stories about Team Rubicon in the media. 2013, we decided that we were acting a little haphazard, so we wanted to use what the federal government mandated for first responders, Incident Command System, or ICS. So we use that in all of our operations and in our training now. 2014, we decided that we're breaking too much equipment. We probably need to do comprehensive safe training, so we launched this massive training system to be able to have formalized training for chainsaws, heavy equipment, how to respond to operations and things like that. 2015, we decentralized operations. That means it no longer was just the national staff planning it. Now the regional volunteers were planning it. And at that point, we saw a dramatic increase of Team Rubicon operations from about 20 a year to 40 a year, because we could respond a lot quicker and help communities a lot more. 2016, we stood up the National Operations Center, and then 2017 is when we really hit the roof, is we responded to Hurricane Harvey in Texas. We responded to Hurricane Maria in Dominica, Puerto Rico, and Florida. We're still in Texas. We are building houses now. We've partnered with some of the recovery groups and helping to bring veterans in to rebuild some of those houses. Quick graphic of shows history through 2016 of how the membership increased and how the response operations increased. We only did 4 operations in 2010. They're all international. And then 2016, I think we ended up with 34. I think last year we ended up over 50 operations in 2017. Jump in anytime. Our funding streams, kind of what it looks like, get about 20% or so from businesses and corporations. Individual donors, about 30%, and we get almost half of our money from nonprofit foundations and trusts.
We have a quip in the organization, and we have a phrase that goes, your mom's a donor. And sometimes when people hear that, they're not intuitively sure what it means. I know I wasn't. But it refers to the fact that if you were to pretend for a moment that your mother donated $1 to Team Rubicon, what would you want to see with that money? You'd probably think about it in a more, kind of responsible way. So we're very, we're responsible and accountable with, where the money goes. And I've certainly seen that on the operations. So it's a good situation. Next slide.
That doesn't mean we don't buy everything we only need. Sometimes we buy a few beers for after hours.
A few, yeah.
We like to have a few beers when the beer flag goes up at the end of operations, but we're very frugal about what we buy, and like I said, we want to make sure we're using the donated money well. Our dual mission is disaster response, but also that veteran transition. Colin has some experience working with veterans, and that's how he got involved in Team Rubicon.
Correct. Yeah, I'm actually a mental health clinician with an emphasis in post-traumatic stress as it pertains to combat trauma and military service. And I did my clinical training over at the VA, and one of the things that I became interested in as I moved into this work is how, a lot of us think about veteran mental health care in the context of, them going into therapy or them being in a group therapy setting. But one of the things that's really come out is that the real instrument of healing is that sense of brotherhood or reuniting with their service members and kind of coming to terms with their new civilian identity. So I know we often talk about Team Rubicon as, a space where they can reunite with each other, and that is absolutely the case. But I've personally witnessed it as a space where they can reunite with the civilian world in a moment of service. One of a lot of the research that's coming out on post-traumatic stress in the military is that it's not as simple as these guys are having, flashbacks of things that happened at war. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they may have witnessed things or committed acts that they really struggle with, acts that might violate their own moral code. So when they come home, for them to have the opportunity to engage in altruism, it's a very healing experience for them that validates and taps into that essential goodness of who they are as a human being. And they also have the opportunity to connect with one another over the campfire when the beer flag goes up, and get to hang out with civilians such as myself and realize that the divide between veteran and civilian is not as wide or significant as they may be led to believe. So I'm just, personally as a clinician, I'm really over the moon about that offering.
I myself, retired Army. I was looking, I didn't have any of the PTSD issues, but I had a desire to serve. And Team Rubicon for years filled that desire for me. As Colin was speaking, I was the incident commander of the Team Rubicon response to the fires in Santa Clarita in 2016. And we had this huge Samoan guy show up on his chopper motorcycle with his rucksack on his back. He grabbed his breakfast on Saturday morning, went and sat in the corner by himself and ate. Didn't say a word to anybody. Then he went out on the op and he started bonding with people out in the field. Him and another guy were having competition who could chuck the logs the farthest into the dumpster. By Saturday night, he was gathered around the fire with us, opening up and everything. By Sunday, he had tears in his eyes and he was crying and hugging everybody, saying goodbye. It was a complete transformation to him. I saw a 180-degree turn just in the 36-hour period. I was like, wow, this is why I'm here. It's nice to help people. When I see a brother veteran or sister veteran change that way and they open up, it's like, wow, that's it for me. Domestic capabilities, this is the kind of things we specialize in. We use the incident command system. We've done volunteer management. We do that pretty well. Or we can integrate CERT teams and to help process them and manage hundreds of volunteers on incidents. Donation management, we can assist with that with the structure, but our members really don't like to get into the sorting clothes and water bottles and diapers, but we have provided the overhead in an ICS structure to help manage that. Disaster assessments, we integrating tech. We use Palantir. It was something created in theater for operations of tracking terrorists. Now law enforcement uses to track criminals, and we've integrated UAS, which is unmanned aerial systems to take imagery and mapping. We've done that domestically and internationally, and it helps. We help bring those tools to other international response organizations that have no clue of what they're looking at, where to go. We help integrate them. And now we're getting into our biggest mission, which is debris removal and expedient home repair. So we'll go in with chainsaws, cut down trees, we'll demolition homes. Where the homes have windows blown out or roofs torn away, we can put up the FEMA Blue Tarp program. New domestic capabilities that just came out during a response in Houston. We're finally doing actual first responder work on traditional scale. We're doing swift water rescue. We didn't have it built into our program before, but we had a lot of traditional first responders and some military guys that had that experience. And we were able to bring it together within the first 48 hours and deploy 3 teams. And in 48 hours, we deployed 3 more teams to Texas to be able to rescue people. I think we rescued about 69 people total. And now we've gone into the true long-term recovery sense of doing home repair and reconstruction. We've been funded by organizations to reconstruct 100 homes in the Houston area. International capabilities, where we started out doing medical. We also do medical training. We've trained people primarily in like refugee camps. We'll train their first aid workers to better help their people more. The water and sanitary health is called WASH. We're just making sure that the people have clean water particularly in some of those disaster areas when their limited sources are even farther limited by the disaster. We do the tech integration, and we've worked with the logistics and distribution, primarily with the military, because we have people that can come in and speak military, and we bridge that gap between the military bringing in the supplies, and the other organizations that really don't want to deal with the military. You know, there's a big conflict in the international response community between non-government organizations and the military, particularly the U.S. military and disaster response, and we help bridge that gap too. The new mission we have is taking those skills. You know, we say a new mission. A new mission is for that individual Team Rubicon member. And this is what it gives them. It gives them that sense of purpose, that sense of community, and that sense of identity. Some of those things Colin talked about.
Yeah, I want to touch on a recent, what it was in 2016, that we established a partnership with the Bureau of Land Management, which was an initiative to get Team Rubicon volunteers, we call them gray shirts, with shirts gray, to be trained as wildland firefighters, which not only expanded our capabilities, but it offered a career opportunity for our veterans and also civilian volunteers. I myself got certified back in March. So it's a space where they can learn a new skill set and also get a career down the road.
This is a quote from Not a Dead Guy. Just one of our gray shirts made a comment about what Team Rubicon provided for him. Quick operations coverage. You know, we went to Haiti, then we did Joplin, which was a big response, more so than the one in Tuscaloosa, which was our first domestic response, which was a very small response for us. We were at Sandy. Moore, Oklahoma was, up until Houston last year, was our biggest domestic response. 450 plus people responded to the F5 tornado that took out 20% of Oklahoma City. We went to the Philippines. In 2013, 2014, we helped fire victims of Pateros. This was our first time that the city only had 3 employees. It had a city manager, city clerk, and a finance clerk. And they couldn't spell FEMA or ICS to save their lives. They were lost in the dark, and the county was struggling with the fire and everything else to be able to help them. And so we did a full transfer of authority from the city, where they gave us the power to build a packet for them to be able to submit through channels to FEMA to get, you know, disaster reimbursement. We went to Nepal after the earthquake in 2015, and Texas was an interesting response. It was multiple tornadoes across 2 counties. As I said, it was decentralized planning. It was all done by the people in that region. National operations didn't do any of the planning. All they did was, here's money, here's the stuff you need to buy, here's tools. And 2017, you know, September and October were our crazy periods. In Texas, we've deployed now over 2,000 volunteers in debris removal type projects. We were in Florida for about 3 weeks, responding to Hurricane Maria. Puerto Rico, we were there for several months helping do some of the cleanup. And Dominica, it was a small island nation in the Caribbean. We were there for a couple weeks doing medical assistance. Locally, kind of things we did. Mount Baldy, 2014, there was a spot flooding there. 1 person was killed. That was my first operation in Team Rubicon. You know, we cleared out debris of about 16 properties there, helped them reinstall a backup water supply. In Ramona, down in San Diego, we helped clean up after mudslides. Santa Clarita and Phelan, we helped clean up after the wildfires up in our high desert. And then, don't have a lot of details on this because this all happened recently and I wasn't a leader anymore, so the details. But we responded to the fires in Sonoma, Napa County, did a lot of debris removal there. It says burned tree removal. Basically, after the fires, it's a lot of burned trees that people need to get rid of on their property, so we were able to go in afterwards and take our chainsaws. It's a bit of a challenge because a burned tree is a lot more dense and hard. It's almost like a real hard wood, and it wears out the sawyer and the saw. This is a typical operation, what it might look like. This is those dual county tornadoes in Texas in 2015. Had 193 volunteers. We did 268 damage assessments, 149 work orders completed. That's on individual properties. We had 4 people that were stupid enough to get tattoos. But the most important thing is we provided 14,916 volunteer hours, and that equated to $410,771 that the local municipality or municipalities could use as their contribution. So, you know, when FEMA comes and says, oh, we're going to pay 75%, and the state says, okay, we'll pick up the other 18 and something, whatever, yeah, then, you know, that's the local municipality's contribution.
And the tattoo phenomenon, I was a member of such a group in Beaumont. It's nearly a guarantee if you do work on the home of a tattoo artist. They will go ahead and, you know, in an act of gratitude, give you a free tattoo. So I didn't get the TR logo, but he offered us to whatever we wanted, and we took him up on it, for better or worse. But that's how I think that really conveys. You know, you're out there, you're sleeping on cots, you're eating Red Cross food, you're getting up at 6:30 in the morning every day. You get your briefing, you get your tools, you ride out in a Ford F-150, and in this case, we're going out to rural Texas. So one of the offerings that I really appreciate about Team Rubicon is it offers an opportunity to see different parts of our country and to interact with the locals who may come from a different world, a different belief system, but all that goes to the wayside in the spirit of service. Not to be the psychologist in the room, but interestingly enough, a lot of the research shows that in the event of a disaster, people actually years later look back with very fond memories of what happened in the aftermath, because it was in those moments that they really felt connected to their community and to their fellow man and woman. So again, it's something I've read about for years, but I really experienced it when I was over in Beaumont, so much that I got a tattoo. So, for better or worse.
This is just some of the training we do. We do internal ICS training, suicide awareness, because obviously we're concerned about the 22 veterans a day that are taking their lives. Safe chainsaw operations, safe heavy equipment operations, first aid training, damage assessment training, some of the things we do internally.
I was just at the Wilderness First Aid this weekend. Came back from Yosemite yesterday. So it's we keep our skills fresh, and each of those trainings that he mentioned, you get the same kind of spirit of camaraderie. You see someone from a previous op, you meet a new person that you'll go ahead and deploy with later. So through service projects, trainings, and we do social events all the time, we really keep this kind of bonding alive and well.
Thank you both for your service. I think it's phenomenal. Thank you for your military service.
Sure.
And I'll have to admit my ignorance. I did not know about Team Rubicon until Jake Pike reached out to me. I met Jake when I was campaigning for city council. He's a great guy. He's a local resident here, but I'm glad he brought you two gentlemen here. Does anyone have any questions for these gentlemen?
I do. It seems like obviously you're able to billet all these people, but I guess a huge part of your deal is to feeding the manpower, getting places to sleep and whatever. Is that just in tents or hotels or whatever?
Almost never in hotels.
Right.
We might do that for our annual conference of leaders, but sometimes we're out in camping. We have tents. Sometimes, usually we stay in community centers or churches. A lot of churches open their doors to us. Sometimes school gymnasiums. It's very, we get the locals to give us a place to stay. The Red Cross will show up with one of their trailers, and we get cots there. Our guys bring their own sleeping bags and stuff.
Right.
Usually the community will feed us. Sometimes we've had to do it on ourselves, and we just, we break out a credit card and we have money on it. We go buy the food and feed ourselves.
Right. I really like the way that it's focused on end results. You're a lot of what we're doing here is preparation, right? Prepare for a disaster, which is, you know, it's difficult because it's somewhat boring and it's hard to get people involved, you know, when, you know, there's no disaster like right in front of them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I really think we can use your, you know, capabilities and whatever. And one of the things we're trying to move forward here is a community-wide emergency preparedness campaign that really involves the whole community. You know, not just Twitter and tweets and emails or printed flyers, which, you know, have their place, but, you know, actual engagement of people. So we definitely be looking forward to, you know, talking to you about that. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're interested, we have 3 videos, but I know you
You know,
guys probably
I saw this,
got
but,
others.
you know, we're short on time, but there, Brandy did put them in there in the agenda. I highly recommend people check them out. I did have a chance to check them out before. Just curious for everyone. It sounds like, Mr. Robbins, you heard of Team Rubicon. I never have, so.
Yes, I've known about them since they started, and I've known Mark for about over 4 years.
Okay, it looked like that, you know. Sergeant Molster, have you heard of them before?
Interestingly enough, and I didn't know they were going to be here tonight, but my wife and I have extended family back east who were directly impacted, and I thought may have been on your slideshow, back in March of 2017 by severe tornadoes. And we had some elderly family members of ours were assisted by Team Rubicon, who showed up unannounced and cleared the entire property of debris, opened up a path for our elderly grandmother to get out. And so very heartfelt thanks to the Team Rubicon, to your whole organization. I think it's first class, and I can speak from experience, it definitely touched our family.
Wow, that's a great testimony right
So,
there. That's
thank you.
amazing. Wow. And your headquarters, from I read from the website, is here in El Segundo, is that correct?
Yeah,
The
that's right.
national headquarters, actually it moved to LA Airport. It's on Century Boulevard. As you know, you come off the 105 and take that loop to go into the terminal.
Right near the strip of
It's on
hotels, the shared,
it's on
right,
they've
the
got a
shared.
big sign right there on the 3rd floor. It says Team Rubicon.
Excellent. And as you gentlemen know, I've been in touch with Lorena, so we'll definitely get this information out to community. I really appreciate your presentation tonight. So.
I would love to make just one more point. From looking at the presentation, one may be led to think that the volunteer must be of a certain age, fit, military service, because they can get out there and, you know, work a sledge. One of the incredible things about these operations is anyone of any background, of any ability, wherever they are, can come and serve and have a role. They don't need to always be out there on the strike teams. They could be in the incident command room. They could even be coordinating things remotely from home. So we've got a flight going out to Hawaii tomorrow to handle the floods. If you guys want to sign up tonight, I'm sure you could catch it. But I know you have work tomorrow. Thank you.
All right.
Great, thanks.